just starting the recording. Okay, so good day all. Happy Thursday. Thanks for joining this Career Go community where we help, empower, enable everybody to find the job they love. So today's session is Recruiting an Inside Look by Mike Gebara, our friend here. He's a recruiter and he's been doing recruitment for almost 10 plus years. I will wait for the introduction to introduce him well. So our promise, if you keep showing up, if you keep applying what you learn, you will get hired within 3 to 6 months. Again, depending on how much time and effort you already devote for this. Lots of learning, lots of dynamic activities that we do here, and it works. Apply what you learn, ask questions, be curious, and also teach others. So whenever you learn something new, be helpful to others, show them what you learned, and get them to get their jobs as well. Our goal is ambitious. We want to get 1,000 people plus hired in 2021. With the pandemic, there is lots of people are suffering from jobs, so we want to help everybody. And we would like you to help us getting this mission. So please bring more people to this community, attending those calls. This will help us grow faster. This community is proven to be working. There's already 5+ people who already find the jobs in the last 2-3 weeks right now, and it's been successful. So our ask to you is engage, ask questions, join and share, connect with others. Just please limit your questions to 2 minutes, so that you give a chance to others to ask questions as well. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. Tons of great information that would help you with your job search, related to your resume, related to your LinkedIn, optimization, storytelling, and lots of other nuggets. So go there in the YouTube channel. I will paste the link in the chat, and that would help you with your job hunt. Coming up this Sunday, we have solutions to overcome challenges with the leader technique. This is my friend Dr. Yasser. He's an author, a book author, and he built a methodology for how to handle leadership in a jungle, almost like this is his practice, and he will show his wisdom next Sunday. So it's a very important topic. Join us. The call is already in the same invite that you joined this one. If you just scroll down, you will find lots of other invites. And next Thursday, Jana is going to speak about change and leadership. This is also another important topic. This is going to be the theme about leadership next week. And because you need to show leadership when you apply for jobs, because this is something that recruiters and hiring managers look for you to show. Today's topic, recruiting an inside look. So the objective is to assist you with dealing with recruiters, understand the other side of job hunting. Our speaker today, Mike Gebara, experienced senior recruiter with 11 years of experience with a demonstrated history of working in the staffing and recruiting industry. He's skilled in telecom, software development, cloud, Oracle, database, coaching, government, executive search, and customer relationships management, CRM. He's a strong human resource professional, graduated from Algonquin College of Applied Arts and Technology. Thank you, Mike.
Thank you very much.
The floor is yours.
Perfect. Just a little intro on my background. I am, like everyone else, is an immigrant also. I came to Canada with my parents as an infant, and then when I first started school, I had trouble. I didn't speak any English. All I spoke was Arabic because I played with my cousins and my parents only spoke Arabic. And then going through the system, high school and everything else, went to college and I got a business diploma in business and marketing. And then I thought I'd go out into the world and start working and as an accountant, because I do like to crunch numbers. Like math is one of my fortes. But when I soon got into that side of the business, I felt like I'm more of a people's person. Like sitting behind a desk. It's funny, and now I'm sitting behind a desk, but sitting behind a desk wasn't what I really wanted to do. So my parents were in the retail business. I got into the business with them, worked with them for a number of years, and then I got into my own business with a brother. Owned a restaurant and then sold that and owned another restaurant. And I just found that type of industry was a little tough for me. And I met a friend of mine one time, and one day, and he said, Mike, maybe you should look at something else. And I said, yeah, what do you have in mind? He said, I'm working in sales at Leon's. And I said, oh, really? He said, you know what, you'd be great at that. So I said, what the heck? I give it a shot, and went for the interview, got the job, and I did extremely well at it. It's one of those things like Ahmed says, like the Lebanese are, it's the selling in them that they're able to, it's one of their strong suits. So for 4 years I was there. I did it, I did very, very well there. And then I was talking to someone who was in the staffing industry. I was selling furniture, and he said, you know what, Mike, maybe I got something for you. And I said, well, really, what I mean? This is, walk around, talk to people, sell. I mean, to me, it's easy, He said, oh, this is also somewhat sales. And so I started in with him, and honestly, it was a complete change. Like I just go from, not knowing, starting to learning technology and everything else. It took me a couple of years to get ramped up and grow in the industry, but it was a huge learning curve. But anyways, I did, took up the challenge, and I've been at it now for 11 years. As the introduction says, I've in all those technology I deal with I've placed directors, managers, almost placed Ahmed in a manager position. Wasn't very successful. Didn't do a good job there. But over the years, I figure I probably closed maybe around 200 plus resources I've placed, contractors, and maybe 35 perms over the last probably I'd say 9 years, where things started to pick up and accelerate and do good. But it's a great industry to be in. And what the best thing I like about it is that you're helping people in their career path. You're helping people with their future. You're guiding them to something that maybe is different than what they're doing now, into something they may end up love doing. And it is a challenge at times, but it's very, very rewarding when you do, when you're successful in doing it. Just to give you a bit of an industry background, recruiters in Ottawa, there's about maybe 200 plus staffing companies, recruiting companies in Ottawa, 200 plus. That's how competitive the industry is. And about 350 recruiters. So you keep in mind that the government is huge, right? We have about 80 to 90 high-tech companies in Canada. We've got all sorts of maybe light manufacturing, not much manufacturing. So when you factor all that in, there's a lot of recruiters in the city and a lot of companies. And it continues to grow because of the demand in the high-tech sector with IT. So anyway, so that's a bit of a background about me and about the industry. And so I'm just going to start with first the chart in regards to the recruiting process.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we can see it now.
So my apologies. So first, what we do is like I'm sure with every recruiting company out there, the resource managers will meet with the client, gather the requirements, come back to their team, and give them the rec for the role. So the role could be either a software developer, a network engineer, a tester, a project manager, a business analyst, order manager role, whatever the case may be. And then from there, it'll be, once the recruiters get it, they will go through the potential candidates. Now with us, we go through, our first steps are we go through our CRM, and if there's no candidates there, and then we also blast it out to Indeed, LinkedIn, and we use another thing that's a crawler that will grab resumes throughout North America, but posting it for Ottawa or Toronto or maybe locations in the US. And then we get resources that way. And if we don't find any good candidates through that, I do the you do the headhunting where you start looking up the competing companies and you start pulling resources out of there and contacting them. And that's where I find that LinkedIn is a great tool to find a competitive company with the same skill set and same resources, or same technology and same resources to do so. And I pulled a lot of people, and that to me is more rewarding than somebody sending the resume in, because when you contact somebody, you're making them feel special. You know they're skilled at what they do, and I find it more of a challenge and more gratifying in finding them that way. So then we go through the resumes, and then we screen out the ones that we feel that are good and that are not so good, and then the ones that are good, we what I do is I do a Teams call with them, so I can put a face on the voice and see the reactions when you're checking them out, and ensuring that what they have in the resume aligns properly with what's required in the job description. And a lot of times you will catch candidates that really don't speak up to what they have on the resume, which is, it's unfortunate, but it happens that way. That actually happened with my colleagues the other day. He was speaking with somebody in Toronto. He said, "Oh yeah, you worked at Loblaw," and he said, "Yeah." He said, "So how was that?" He said, "And oh, you worked at TD. So what's it like driving downtown every day to TD?" He said he didn't even know that TD was downtown. He put down that he worked there, but never worked there. So it was like, it's unfortunate, but it happens with so many people out there wanting to work. They will falsify their resume. They will tailor it or doctor it, whatever the case may be. So once we screen the candidate, ensure that he's a good candidate, then we'll send him out to our account director. Our account director will then review the resume and ensure that everything in there is what they're looking for. Then he sends it to the client. Now, the client will get maybe 3 or 4 resumes, I hope, for this role, and then he will go through them and evaluate each one, and then he will coordinate an interview for for whichever candidate he does select. And now the interview process with us, and what I've dealt with mostly in the past, it's usually a 1 interview process. And what it is that the manager, the director will have a technical lead that will participate in the interview, so that there's more than one person involved in it, so that you can get everybody's feedback to really weed out the really good talent and secure them. And then if they hire them, if they make them an offer, I should say, and then they accept it, then of course the background check is done and completed. You ask for references. What we usually do sometimes, we call before, they go in for an interview for references, just to ensure that they're good from where they've worked at the last couple of times. And we always insist on having a manager or a director or a senior team lead that we ask, instead of friends or colleagues or coworkers. That way there you get an unbiased opinion. And if you are managing a person, and you will then be able to speak to his skills, whether he's done it or not, or whether he's good at it, or he could be a problem child, or whatever the case may be. So, and then once that's completed, the
So
offer,
Mike,
sorry.
Mike, we have a question in the chat.
Certainly.
Do you send multiple candidates for the same role, or you just send one person?
It varies with the role. If a manager, is fine with us picking one, we will send one. If they want to see a few resumes, it's their request, and they rely on our due diligence to make sure that they're good. And sometimes they're fine with the one, but then you have some managers that insist they want they want 3 or 4. If it's a government opportunity, it's always 3 or 4 roles, 3 or 4 candidates, because they've got to make sure that it's an even playing field for everybody. They don't want to show favoritism for one person, one candidate over the 4. So they need open book, where they, everything's clear and above board. Whereas if you're in a private sector and the manager really likes that one candidate, he'll bring him on board. You know, they're
Yeah.
not going to ask her for more than one. So.
And for your point, when you said, when you screen somebody and you find that he or she is lying about something in their resume, do you blacklist them, or what do you do?
Yeah, we make a note in our system that the information's not accurate, and please do not submit anywhere.
Okay.
You know, so, and we have I don't know how many resumes we have on our database, and I'd be saying maybe we have 100,000 resumes plus
Wow.
in our database. Like, we have a huge database, but you
Mhm.
mind, if you put out a posting, and sometimes you'll get 50, 60 resumes for each role, or 40 resumes for each role. 99.9% of them aren't good, but you know what I mean? They still go in and populate your database. Um, and another very important thing, please, 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 when you are doing your resume, make sure it's for the position that you want to be and that what you're skilled for. And I've seen resumes come in for different skill sets for different roles. They're not even near what what they're looking for in the by the manager. So it's very important that you do submit
Taylor.
your resume to roles that you feel very qualified for.
Yeah. So
So
we need to tailor the resume for that job description specific.
100%, but
Yeah.
tailor it with accuracy. Don't embellish. Don't say anything that you haven't done and put it in there just because it says so. And I've seen it before. I send a job description to a person, to a candidate, and I'll say, okay, what they're looking for, make sure it's in the resume. He's copied it almost word for word out of the job description and put it right in the resume. And I'm thinking, no, seriously, are you kidding me? Like, that's not what you're supposed to do. What did you do with that technology?
Yeah.
You know,
So there is another question in the chat.
certainly.
Do you screen candidates with the most relevant job skill for the job role? I guess this is what you just mentioned now, is tailoring the resume versus the job skill, or the role job skills.
Well, you have to have skills for the role, whether you have 70%, 80%, 90%, 65%, you still have skills for that role. If you feel comfortable enough where you can able to pick up on the missing technology, um, sure, apply to it. And sometimes they may not take a senior resource. They may want someone intermediate or junior where they can groom them along in the position. And sometimes, like, you'll get say a network engineer that's been in the business for, well, network engineering not so much, maybe a Java developer that's been in the business for 20 years. They're set in their ways, right? They could be very smart, they could be very good, and I'm sure they are. But sometimes the manager will want, okay, you know what? He's a little too senior. Give me somebody who's got 6 or 7 years that I know that I can, if there's any newer technology, he'll pick it up. We can mold him around, to the position, and he'll be with us for 3 or 4 years on contract. And
Yeah.
and so therefore, sometimes they may sacrifice the years of experience for someone who comes, and especially with the newer grads and the newer, more recent grads, the technology is newer, and sometimes they feel they're more eager to learn and pick up new skills. So
So when you screen some candidate for the role, how do you normally do that? Do you have an ATS software that tells you the matching, or you just go resume by resume?
we read the resumes. We don't have a system where you pick out the match the words and it'll say yes. And I know you've shown that system before in your previous one of your previous sessions. We don't have it. And I'm sure it's as you say, it's not very hard to do. But I think we're old school, where we are. You read the resume, and then you feel if they qualified, then you reach out to them.
How
And then
much time do you take per resume to read?
probably a couple of minutes. You
Couple
know,
of minutes.
yeah.
Yeah.
I scan it to make sure I'm looking for what they've done, especially with technology. Like what the network engineers do. What the software developers do. What the software testers do. So once you've read one resume, or once you've read 50 resumes, what to look for and what to find in a resume. But I still make mistakes.
That's always,
I
yeah,
still miss them.
it's okay. Like
So
it's
anyways,
there.
but you know what? It is what it is. But the more you can put in there in regards to the job description that you've actually done is the key.
Yeah.
You know,
So what I hear from you now, Mike, is, if somebody is not suitable for the job, it's better they don't apply.
100%.
And if they are suitable, they should tailor the job description in the resume so that they get your attention as a recruiter.
100%. Yeah. And it's not, and it's for every recruiter, not just me, but every recruiter is looking for a match. If it's a 70% match, 80% match, 100% match, that's what they're looking for. They're looking for to make it easier for you to get an interview and to make it easier for you to succeed in the interview. Yeah, we're not going to throw anybody to the wolves. If we feel that you're not a fit for the position, if you're 50% for the role, you're not going in.
Yeah.
You know, we want to give you a fighting chance in there.
Yeah. And do you, let's say, if you find somebody who's good but not for this position, maybe, would you keep them in mind for other roles, or what happened there?
And what we do there is what we will put their resumes in different tear sheets. Okay. So say if you're an intermediate software developer, could be C++ or whatever, he'll go into that tear sheet. So the person working on that role in the future will go into that tear sheet, look at the resources in there, the resumes, and then pick which ones that he feels that may be fit for his position. So maybe the next role could be someone who's 2 or 3 years experience. You know, we have that now where we have a C++ role. They're looking for someone with 2 or 3 years experience, about 4 or 5 of those, and a couple of senior ones that are probably 8, 9, 10 years experience. But it's because they can train them and groom them the 2 or 3 years to bring them along. So yes, we don't just discard the resume. The resume will go into our database anyway. So if anybody does a quick search in Bullhorn, putting in the Boolean search for what they want, what they're looking for, those resumes should come up if they have that skill set.
Yeah. So if I just want to summarize, the initial steps. So you get the role, you check your database, and
Yes,
then if you don't find in your database, you go to LinkedIn to search
we
for
do.
people,
Yeah, we
and then
do LinkedIn. We do the job boards, and sometimes we post in some of the groups on LinkedIn. Like for example, I post on my LinkedIn. Like today, I was looking for network engineers. I got 3 or 4. They see my post. They send me an email. Some of them aren't a fit. They weren't a fit, but you know what I mean. They're out there looking. So sometimes it's hard to keep it in the back of your mind because you see so many resumes, you speak to so many people, but the odd one sticks out that you do remember. And yes, I do have a role. Let's call that guy. You
yeah.
know.
So tell us, Mike, maybe what things when you see in the resume immediately you go next. If you see something in the resume that is off, or that doesn't really make sense for you, if you can just point us for 1 or 2 examples of
Sure.
that, and then
For
you could
sure.
just maybe go next.
Yeah. So what happens is, so you put a software developer position, for example. You can either be a .NET software developer, you could be a C++, you could be a C#, you can be a Java, you could be a Python developer, you can be a more in the front end with React. And so if you post that you're looking for a UI developer, and then you get a full stack developer that's stronger in the back end, right away he's not qualified for it. And if it's a Java environment, if they send you a resume and they're C# or C++, not as much with them. It's usually .NET, more web-based. They will send you those, and those right away you discount them. So the key word is look for what the role is, what the skill or the technology they're looking for in the role. If it's a network engineer that's working with Cisco gear, that you look for the Cisco gear, or it could be the Juniper gear, or it could be the Nokia gear, or it could be, Nexus equipment, whatever the case may be, or etc. So it's whatever the technology required in the role is what you search for. And then from there you expand. What have they done with it? Have they only looked at it? Have they only touched on it, or have they really delved deep right into it and worked with it? You know, and
Mhm.
that's what you try and screen them out for.
So do you check normally the LinkedIn profile after you check the resume? You see
Uh,
if there's a match or
and you know what? Yes, we do. Because that way there, you got to make sure that it's, and sometimes on LinkedIn, they will have, they may have come from the Middle East and worked, for the last, 10 or 12 years outside the country and worked here for 10 years. And then you look back and you say, oh, okay, there he's worked here, here, here. And sometimes that technology could be relevant today, you know? Um, but yes, you do compare. And if it's off, then you know there's something wrong. That's a red flag.
oh, oh. And then if they're matching, then you speak with that person on phone or FaceTime, and then
What I
you.
what I
Mhm.
initially do, I call them first, and then I screen them that way. And first of all, I'm a guy who's very positive, and I usually break the ice. And so if I call somebody and said, "How are you today?" They said, "Oh, I'm good today." And I'll pipe up and say, "No, it should be a great day today. You're healthy, your family's healthy, life is great." And they'll say, "Yeah, it is." Blah blah. And then they start. That's the soft approach. That's what I take with people. And
Yeah.
then it breaks the ice. And then I find a commonality. If they're from down east, if they're from certain parts of the world, that I can say, "Hi, how are you?" in that language. I can say it in Russian and Romanian. It sometimes it helps. They kind of chuckle, they laugh. Even Chinese, they will laugh, and that kind of breaks the ice. And then you're able to chat with them. And then you, with me, because time is very, very important, I try and find out if they're very senior, what their rate is right away. Because within the first 30 seconds to a minute, I've got to, find out if he's looking for $70 an hour or if he's looking for 120. And it
Okay.
happened to me today. I was talking to a guy. Great. I spent too much time with him today, and he's very, very good. And then maybe 15 minutes in, I said, "Oh, and so what's your rate?" I knew what he's making now, and then I asked him what he wanted, and he said he wanted $40 more an hour than what he's
Wow.
making now. So I said, "Okay, you know what? Uh, think about it, but that's not going to happen." So, and then, I'm polite and nice, because you never close the door, because he may call tomorrow and say, "You know what, Mike, I'm interested."
Yeah.
So you always, I always, and I'm very upfront with them, and I tell them, with everybody I speak with, I'm honest with everybody. I treat everybody fairly, and I want to be treated the same way.
Yeah.
And that way there, you put it out right in front, and there's no head games. You'll
Yeah.
get the odd one, but most of them are very good.
Yeah. So if somebody maybe told you the rate is not good and then they come back later on, do you find this okay, or you think maybe then
That's
there's
also a
something?
flag. That sometimes may be a flag, because what worries me there is, if I get him into this position at this rate that I told him it will pay, someone's going to come down the road in 6 months or a year and offer him close to what he wants, and he'll leave.
Yeah.
So that, to me, unless he's not very familiar with the market, and he's just hoping that he would get this rate, sometimes it's a red flag. But
Yeah.
people try and get the most they most that they can get. They want to get as much money as possible. It's human nature. I want more money. You want more money. Everybody wants more money, but you've got to do it within a reasonable, reasonable fashion. So it's interesting. It's great. I love it. I love talking to people.
So is it different, when you hire for a contractor or a full time from your aspect, or is it the same?
For a full time, we usually screen them, and then we send them to the client. The client will then they will do the technical interview, and they may go through maybe 1 or 2 rounds of interviews with him, and then if they feel he's a fit, then they'll get HR involved. Then they'll draft him an offer, send him the offer, or they ask him what he wants, and then he'll say, "This is what I'm making now, XYZ. If you can match it, fine." And usually they match it, and then they give him a signing bonus and probably bump up his annual bonus, whatever the case may be. It varies with different clients, but that's what normally is the process. But for contracting, it's it's one interview usually, and then if they're selected, we send them out an offer. We confirm that that they'll accept the offer. But I just want to point another thing, and I have a list of things that I was going to go through on how we do it, but this freestyle is very good in regards to our conversation. One of the most important things for anybody submitting to a position, please make sure that the client is aware that you're in other processes, and also the recruiter working on that role. And if you are in other processes, how far along are you? Are you pending an offer? Are you going in for a second interview? What do you want to do? Because we've had it this week where we've had, I think, 4 offers sent out to candidates, and they've turned them down because they've had other offers. But mind you, the market is very hot. So, but please make sure that the recruiter and the clients are aware that you're in other processes, and this is one of them.
But if I put myself in the other side, Mike, if I'm looking for a job and I'm working on multiple opportunities, why should I tell you that I'm doing this or that? Because again, it's tough for me. I'm not sure if this will come or that will come. So I wanna, be say greedy
well,
to
no,
take all.
it's yeah, but you may look at it, in that way, but when you look at it, time is money for you, for me, for the client. For them to take an hour and a half, okay, to sit down with you, do a video call with you, go through the technical interview, only to have you say, "Oh, by the way, I've got an offer tomorrow." To me, it's you should be upfront and fair, because if you really want the position you want to be interviewed for, perfect. And what I always say is, so if you were offered the 3 positions, which would you take? Sometimes they'll say, I'll take the first one that comes along. Perfect. Because I know my process is quick and fast. We'll know immediately whether you'll get the job or not, or within half an hour. And so then okay, when they say, let me think about it, then they know there's something else coming the next day or a couple of days down. Maybe something that they really wanted, but this is like, in case they don't get that offer a couple of days down, they have this one here. But it's a tough position to be in, but when the market is hot, I mean, you expect it. I remember we worked on roles in California, and not me myself, and for one of our clients, and they loved the guy. Said, we're going to offer you $210,000. He said, well, I've got an offer from here. I've got an offer from here. I've got an offer from here. And he got an offer like $260,000. So, I mean, which are you going to take? It's crazy.
Yeah.
I spoke to a guy today in California, network engineer, and he was, like one of those where they communicate by email. I'm not an email guy. I'll send the email, but I want to speak to you. I want to hear it verbally.
Yeah.
And then we started talking, and I said, so what are you making now? He said, I'm making $220,000. I said, why do you want to leave? He said, the company that I'm working for is moving, and I don't want to leave California. He said, what's your rate for the position? I said, I'm not going to insult you. I'm not going to tell you, because it's probably, it was $70,000 less than what he's making now.
Oh, okay.
So I said, I didn't tell him. I just said, you know what, Afresh, I'm not going to tell you. I'm going to leave it at that. If I get something in your salary range in California, I will call you. And he thanked me very much, and that was it. So.
Yeah. So I don't want to disturb your thoughts, Mike. So if you want to go through your presentation or your questions or your checklist, feel free.
Yeah. So anyway, so did the candidate accept? Yes or no? And then you place the candidate. And then when you do place the candidate, if they don't, like we did this week, four candidates didn't accept, but you know what it is, it's the nature of the industry. And I find sometimes if we do a little more due diligence in ensuring that the candidate is really, interested. But today, I'll just tell you that candidate that turned down the interview, the offer today, When he asked them about the technology they're working with, it's a little older, the technology, and that's not really what he wanted to be in. So anyways, when my colleague, the recruiter, spoke with him, how'd you think it went? He said it went great up until about the last couple of minutes when I asked them about the technology you're working with, and when they told me what it was, it's not quite what I want. He said it's older technology, and so I knew that once he said that he's not taking the position.
Yeah.
And he didn't have anything else because he's already working permanent position, and this was a step up more financially for him. But because of technology, I don't think he's taking it. So
yeah. So this is a good point, Mike, and if I may, just jump into it. So
certainly,
and just for our audience here today, if you're good in what you're doing, if you really have great experience, you will be worth it. Everybody will chase you. Everybody will try to hire you. This is just your chance to, polish and make sure you have that value and speak about it, and show it, either through branding in LinkedIn or through your blogs or your activities. Speak about your projects, about your achievements. This is what Mike was saying about a guy who's taking 220 in California. This is a big number, for sure. So but you can still get that number if you really find a sweet spot, something that is unique, that the whole market will chase you for. So try to discover that piece, because this is where you will stand out in the market.
it's so true. It's absolutely true. And when Ahmed was saying about like speak about what you've done, it's no different than in the resume or in the interview. If they ask you what did you do in this project, and instead of you saying as a team we did this, they don't want to hear about what the team did. They want to know what you individually did for this project or for this product and what you contributed. They want to know what you did. So it's always about me, me, me. And actually, I listened into an interview because I will coordinate, the team's interview between some of the, the technical leads and some of the and the candidate, of course. And I coordinated this one, and the guy kept saying, "We did this, we did that, we did this, we did that." And then I'm thinking, I don't want to interrupt him because I'm listening to it. Stop the we, do the I. And finally, after about maybe 7 or 8 times, the manager conducting the interview said, we want to know what you did, not what collaboratively the whole team did. It's what you did. So he said, and then he stopped, and actually his wife told him when he got out of the interview, she said, "What were you saying? We all the time. It's what you should be doing." His wife was listening to the interview. She critiqued him at the end, and anyways, he didn't get the job, and it was unfortunate. But yeah, be sure to stress and emphasize what you yourself have done, and like Ahmed says, highlight it. You know what I mean? If you've accomplished something very, very unique, very special, something that was very high to attain and get, show that, advertise that, you know what I mean? Put it out there.
Yeah.
So.
And sometimes, the we is just a cultural difference. Some people
100%.
say we because it's culture. They always say we. They endorse the team more than the individual. So again, that's another lesson. So you need to be ready with the Canadian culture. You need to understand the Canadian, way of interviewing. So we is not work. Maybe you need to focus on the I, what you did, and focus on that when you speak in an interview. So again, that's another good lesson. Thanks, Mike. Go ahead.
Absolutely. No, and that's a very good point. And always, and like I've said before in other sessions, when you go into an interview, and it's very easy to be nervous and sitting at the end of your, the edge of your seat, and like worried about giving the correct answer, or what I mean, worrying about not answering it completely. Just relax and pretend you're discussing technology, because I mostly work with technology, with friends, and just go with that. Just like, like I'm looking at Ahmed now and we're speaking. It's almost like I'm only speaking to him, which puts me at ease, because I don't speak to too many, people in a group or anything like Ahmed. So anyways, just be comfortable, be relaxed, be yourself, and enjoy it. Enjoy the moment, and laugh. If you do have an opportunity to laugh, they'd love to see that, because they not only they want to see what your soft skills are. What will you bring to the role? If you'll be a fit to the team, or will you be, maybe a thorn in the side, or, may not be a team player. And that's what they do. Unfortunately, now, because of COVID, you can't meet the person, and, like meet them in person. Everything is done by video, which is great. And back to the guy that interviewed today, one of my consultants was the technical lead on the interview. So he called me afterwards and told me, he said he really liked the guy a lot, but when he mentioned the technology, he said he could see his facial reaction when they started to describe the older infrastructure. And he said, I hope it wasn't that. I hope it was the fact that he was on the phone with us, or on video, for an hour and 45 minutes. And I'm thinking, okay, hour 45 minutes, I'd be tired also, but I don't know. He said as soon as they said that about the old infrastructure, you could see there was a little letdown in his enthusiasm.
Yeah.
So, but the good thing about, if it's live, you can read their body, movements and actions, and get a read of the person. You could tell in a few minutes whether he's good, or whether he's, he's maybe not a fit for the group, whatever the case may be. And yeah, it's true. It's true. I had a guy interview about 10 years ago, and it's funny because he got the job 4 or 5 years later, but I sent him into as a software developer, Java developer, and then my account director, Sam, Sam, he met the guy, and Sam right away is pretty sharp in picking up things with people. And anyways, so he met the guy, and he said, you know what, it's going to be like this. And the guy seemed a little arrogant. So Sam said, if I were you, I would tone down the attitude going into the interview. So anyways, goes into the interview, comes out, calls me. I said, how'd it go? He said, oh, it went great. He said, I did it, very, very well, blah, 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 blah. And I said, oh, that's awesome. The director calls Sam, and she said, you know what, Sam? The guy is 12 out of a 10 on the skill set. He is perfect for what we need, but there's something about him. And Sam said, it's his personality. He's a bit arrogant, and that's what he came across as. And she said, that's exactly it. And he never got the job. But 4 years later, he got the job. I don't know how he got the job, but he went back in there. Maybe it took him 4 years to kind of soften up, but we didn't place him then. But anyways, he did get the job. But he was like a scientist. Like, he was very, very, very smart guy. More than what they were looking for. But anyways, that's another example.
Yeah. So Mike, how do you want to, we have like 10 minutes almost. So how do you want to open it up for Q&A, or do you still have a few things?
No, I'm good here now. So after the, you bring them on board, they do the onboarding, background check, make sure that there's, no criminal history or no problems. And then that's it. They're good to go. So.
Cool. Okay, so do you want to open up for Q&A if anyone have questions?
Yes, certainly. Anybody have a question? Please fire away.
I think Gopal put a question. Do you send candidate for a different job role than what the candidate has applied? So let's see, maybe if somebody is applying for a Java, but he's C++, would you maybe put him for a C++ afterwards?
No, no, you can't, because they're and I'm, they're two different technologies, and it's just like how would you say it? It's a different skill set completely. It's still software development, but it's different. It's like I don't know, if you want to compare foods, I don't know, roast beef and pizza. You're not gonna. They're totally different. Completely. Other than it's food, right?
You're gonna make me hungry now.
Software. I'm sorry. So, but that's what it is. So it's yeah, you can't. You have to be. When you apply to any position, you've got to make sure that you have the skills for that role, and at least 70%, 75% of it, so that you're able to apply and speak to it, technically if you're interviewed, and if you're there and I've had it before where I've sent a candidate and the resume looked great, and the manager looked at it, and he had a couple of 3 technical leads, and about maybe 15 minutes in, he said, "Oh, I got a call," and he got up and he went. He didn't get a call. He knew that the guy who did the resume, everything on the resume was perfect, and didn't just couldn't answer technically. So 15, 20 minutes, they gave him half an hour. They thanked him very much for his time and left. And the manager said, you know what? The resume spoke to it all. And I'm sure, you guys aren't technical, but you asked him a couple of questions. If he answered them, then, he was good to go. And he just didn't work out. But another guy, I'll tell you, his resume was very good. Went into the interview, he aced it. It was perfect. So anyways, he half an hour after the interview, the manager calls Sam, and he says to Sam, he says, "Great guy, very strong technically. He's going to be my team lead. Perfect. Bring him on board." So I called him up and I said, "Congratulations, you did this. Awesome. Boom." 3 months later, the manager calls Sam. He says, "I got to let him go." Well, you got to do what you got to do. He said, "Why?" He said, "He's not doing the work. All his work we have to fix." And he was a Java developer. So he's saying, "We have to fix all his work." And he said, "But the interview," he said, "was great. He answered everything perfect." So it's one of those where, sometimes they may do well in the interview and not be able to, produce at work. And the other way around where they think they're qualified and the resume reads to it, but they're not. So, but that was really odd. So I called the guy up and we told him, I said, "Sorry, this Friday's your last day, and we'll pick up the computer, whatever the case may be." So.
So we can open it up for other questions. If anyone wants to raise your hand or unmute and ask question. You want to remove that screen share, Mike?
Sure. Yes, I will.
Okay, the floor is yours, everybody. So take your chance and ask Mike some questions. If not, I have so many other questions to ask Mike. Okay, Mauricio, go ahead, sir.
Yes, I have a question. Mike, thank you very much for this session. So your support is always really appreciated. Thank you very much.
You're most welcome.
Yes, I have a question. I have some friends or some people that I know that have migrated here to Canada, and they said it was not possible for them to resume their career where they left off in their home country. And I was wondering why is that situation is happening? It depends on the industry those people are working in, depends on their mindset, because most of them, they had to take survival jobs, entry-level positions until they land the position they were working for, looking for. Why does this happen in your opinion?
I think I'm not 100% sure, but I think it may be a mindset of some of the managers or the companies in Ottawa. But as I mentioned the other night or the other session, that they look upon people from Brazil that they're very strong technically in network engineering, very strong in software development. I have 2 or 3 software developers that are from Brazil, and and even if you have your experience from outside the, outside of Canada, especially, so if you work as a network engineer and you're working in Brazil, some of the Canadian company, well, and I'll say it out there, Nokia manufactures telecom gear. Well, Nokia is in every service provider globally. Okay, so they're in all the North American ones, and Japanese Telecom, Etisalat, Vodafone. And they're in Telmex, and so if they're in Telmex or if they're in a Brazilian, service provider, they know that you've worked at you know, at that role. You've done that role there. It's not like you've worked for company ABC, you know, a small trucking company somewhere where there's nothing to substantiate, you know, that quality of work. I'm not saying it's not good quality, but it's not known. So if you work for a big company like a Tissalat, you know that you've worked with a really respectable company, and they do and they recognize that. So, like I said before, you know, the Romanians are strong software developers. Polish people are strong software developers. You know, from Iran, Persians are strong software developers, network engineers. So different parts of different nationalities are strong in technology, and it's their way out. It's just like from Egypt, you either get a network engineer, project manager, a doctor, or a pharmacist leaving Egypt. And honestly, a couple of times I've had it where I've said to the to this candidate from Egypt, so I said, "Is your wife a pharmacist? How do you know?" I said, "She's one of the four that comes that leaves Egypt." So I mean, it's known, but it's because for them it's their way to leave Egypt, right? And it's the same with Brazil. It's a way for you to leave Brazil and, you know, like Saudi Arabia or Iraq, you know, or Iran. It's a way for you to get out to the Western world in order to establish there and work at what you love working at.
Yeah.
So
Mike, you know, maybe I could add to what you just mentioned to Mauricio. It could be again the mindset of that person. You know, if he or she, you know, have that mindset that, you know, he's not good enough, nothing can work. You know,
no,
nothing could work. And you know, you need to test the water. You need to do information interview. You need to speak with people. This is how you will know if that industry is very small or big. You know, and that's where the market is huge or it's small. And it depends on the industry, it depends on the person, but it's all starts from the mindset. You know, whatever you tell to yourself, you know, if you're good enough or not. So we have Elaine have raised her hand to ask a question. Go ahead, Elaine.
Hi, Mike.
hi.
What in the case, like, I'm for accounting field, and if I want to start working in IT, and I don't have experience, but I have the enthusiasm and the passion that we have to have in order to do something. Like, is it possible I get a job?
Well, I don't know if you get a job, but first of all, you've got to take some courses and get certification or whatever it is so that you can get up to speed. And like anything else, when you first graduate from university or from college and you get a degree, you're going to start at the entry level, but then you grow with that position. You know, it's like like a dishwasher becomes a sous chef and then he becomes a chef. You know, you start at the bottom and then you work up, and that's how it is. And
So even
you know,
in IT, I have the opportunity to start like in an
absolutely.
internship and just grow
You
in
know,
there.
and yeah, and you see it quite often where some people come in from other countries, like yourself and like everyone else, probably in this group, and they go to Algonquin College and take a 2-year or 3-year course in, you know, in electronics or something or whatever, and then they pick the field which they'd like to be in, and then you've got to start like anything else, entry level, you know, and it's a step forward, you know, and but keep changing with the technology also, because the industry is changing like crazy. We were talking about it earlier on, Ahmed and I, and it's rapidly changing, right, Ramzi? It's rapidly changing. You see it, you know, when you were in telecom, you can tell where Telus was like 10 years ago or 15 years ago, and look at where it is now, you know. It's incredible. So yes, it would be. You know what, you can do anything you want to do in this life. You put your mind to it, you can do it.
Yeah, I agree.
I can also maybe you know, add to this. You know, if you mix your financial background with technology, that's even better. You know, so don't lose your accounting, don't lose your financial mindset or your experience, because this is important. But just mix it with a little bit of IT. You know, add some IT to it. So there is a term now. It's called fintech, financial technology, which is very needed today. All the banks, all the insurance, all the, you know, big companies who are trading in stocks, they need people like in financial tech.
Absolutely.
People who has accounting and with technology.
Got it.
Okay. Good. We're almost on time, but if there is any
Mike?
final question, yeah,
Yes.
go ahead, Rafael.
Hello, Mike. So I have a question. I'm a lawyer in Brazil, and in a conversation with a friend who works in a TV area, he said, "How I'm a lawyer, I could look at a job opportunity in a Scrum Master area fields." So could you talk a little about this position in TE fields?
Okay, I didn't quite hear. So you said you're a lawyer, you said?
Yeah.
Okay. And somebody recommended that you become a Scrum Master?
Yes.
Okay. I really don't know much about that. But you know what? If you can look up and find out or find Scrum Masters on LinkedIn and see what they do. So, and then you can just kind of learn it. And being a lawyer, you're a very smart person, and like anything else, if willing to learn anything, you can learn anything. So it's nothing can hold you back. Nothing can hold you back. So you're able to learn it. You're able to do it. If you
Yeah.
have the ambition and the mindset and the enthusiasm, you could learn whatever you want to learn.
That guy told me Scrum Master field it's growing with IT areas because
Yes, it is.
they help the team how work properly and improve the results.
You're absolutely right, and it's true, and that is really is a growing field. So for every, like I know if we have a group at one of our clients where they're our team, and they meet every once a week, and they have a Scrum session. There's a couple of Scrum leaders just to follow up, make sure that everybody's doing their work and how the work is coming along. And are they having any difficulties, any issues with delivering, within a certain timeline? And I'm sure Ramzi can probably answer this better than I, because he's a project manager. But that's what it actually is. If you can keep things, keep people organized and on target, and it's a great career, I'm sure.
Yeah. So a Scrum Master, it's basically a project manager. And there are different methodologies within project management that you can use to manage projects. So, Scrum is one of them, right? And it's a more agile method that they use nowadays.
Yes.
Yeah.
So it's basically, if you're interested in that career, you want to get into study project management.
Yeah.
Okay.
And Rafael, if you want, maybe we can take this offline. But you may need to do an assessment. And an assessment of your skills, of what you really like to do, before you really invest time and effort in a degree or in a field that may not give you what you want. So you need just to know, for example, how much money you need, and what are the skill set, what are the certifications, in order to invest your time wisely, because your time is a big asset that you need to spend wisely in those days. But again, I'm happy to take this offline with you if you want.
Okay, thank you.
Ready? So one, and I want to see a great smile. 1, 2, 3, and smile. Perfect. Thank you, everybody. This is really awesome.
Thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you so much. Enjoy the rest of the day, and hope to see you on Sunday.
Yeah.
Thanks again, Mike.
Thank you.
Bye, Ramzi. Maurizio. Obrigado.
Thank you. Obrigado, Mike.
Thank you, Mike.
De nada. See you later. Good night, everyone.
Take care. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye, guys.
Thanks, Ahmed.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thanks, Ahmed.
Thanks. Bye.